Hey there, folks! Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of geography, and we're going to explore the diverse aspects that make up a region. So, let's get started. First up, we have history. This is the foundation of any region, shaping its culture, traditions, and identity. Next, we have geography, which encompasses the physical features, climate, and natural resources of a place. Moving on to demographics, this is all about the people who call a region home, including their ethnicity, language, and population. Economy is another crucial aspect, as it's the driving force behind a region's prosperity and development. Culture, on the other hand, is the unique blend of customs, beliefs, and arts that make a region distinct. Government and politics are also important, as they determine the rules and policies that govern a region. Education is vital for the growth and development of a region, shaping its future generations. Transportation is the lifeline that connects a region to the rest of the world, including roads, trails, rail, transit, air travel, and waterways. We hope you enjoyed this journey with us. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating content. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video. Ohio. Ohio 14 is a state in the Midwestern region of the United States. It borders Lake Erie to the north, Pennsylvania to the east, West Virginia to the southeast, Kentucky to the southwest, Indiana to the west, and Michigan to the northwest. Of the 50 U.S. states, it is the 34th largest by area. With a population of nearly 11.9 million, Ohio is the 7th most populous and 10th most densely populated state. Its capital and most populous city is Columbus, with the two other major metropolitan centers being Cleveland and Cincinnati, alongside Dayton, Akron, and Toledo. Ohio is nicknamed the Buckeye State after its Ohio Buckeye trees, and Ohioans are also known as Buckeyes. Ohio derives its name from the Ohio River that forms its southern border, which, in turn, originated from the Seneca word Ohio, meaning good river, great river, or large creek. 1516, the state was home to several ancient indigenous civilizations, with humans present as early as 10,000 BCE. It arose from the lands west of the Appalachian Mountains that were contested by various native tribes and European colonists from the 17th century through the Northwest Indian Wars of the late 18th century. Ohio was partitioned from the Northwest Territory, the first frontier of the new United States, becoming the 17th state admitted to the Union on March 1, 1803, and the first under the Northwest Ordinance, 317. It was the first post-colonial free state admitted to the Union and became one of the earliest and most influential industrial powerhouses during the 20th century. Although it has transitioned to a more information and service-based economy in the 21st century, it remains an industrial state, ranking 7th in GDP as of 2019, 18 with the third largest manufacturing sector and second largest automobile production. 19. 7 presidents of the United States have come from Ohio, earning it the moniker the mother of presidents. 20. History main articles, Prehistory of Ohio, and History of Ohio Indigenous Settlement Artists' conception of the Fort Ancient Sunwatch Indian Village in Dayton. Archaeological evidence of spear points of both the Folsom and Clovis types indicate that the Ohio Valley was inhabited by nomadic people as early as 13,000 BC. 21. These early nomads disappeared from Ohio by 1000 BC. 21. Between 1000 and 800 BC, the sedentary Adena culture emerged. The Adena established semi-permanent villages because they domesticated plants, including sunflowers, and grew squash and possibly corn, with hunting and gathering. This cultivation supported more settled, complex villages. 22. The most notable remnant of the Adena culture is the Great Serpent Mound, located in Adams County, Ohio. 22. Around 100 BC, the Adena evolved into the Hopewell people, who were also mound builders. Their complex, Large and technologically sophisticated earthworks can be found in modern-day Marietta, Newark, and Circleville. 23. They were also a prolific trading society, their trading network spanning a third of the continent. 24. The Hopewell disappeared from the Ohio Valley about 600 AD. The Mississippian culture rose as the Hopewell culture declined. Many Siouan-speaking peoples from the plains and East Coast claim them as ancestors and say they lived throughout the Ohio region until approximately the 13th century. 25. There were three other cultures contemporaneous with the Mississippians: the Fort Ancient people, the Whittlesey culture. 25. And the Monongahela culture. 26. All three disappeared in the 17th century. Their origins are unknown. The Shawnees may have absorbed the Fort Ancient people. 25. It is also possible that the Monongahela held no land in Ohio during the colonial era. The Mississippian culture was close to and traded extensively with the Fort Ancient people. Iroquois conquests during the Beaver Wars, mid-1600s, which largely depopulated the upper and mid-Ohio River Valley. Indians in the Ohio Valley were greatly affected by the aggressive tactics of the Iroquois Confederation, based in central and western New York. 27. After the Beaver Wars in the mid-17th century, the Iroquois claimed much of the Ohio country as hunting and, more importantly, beaver trapping ground. After the devastation of epidemics and war in the mid-17th century, which largely emptied the Ohio country of indigenous people dubious, discuss, by the mid to late 17th century, the land gradually became repopulated by the mostly Algonquian. Many of these Ohio country nations were multi-ethnic, sometimes multilinguistic societies born out of the earlier devastation brought about by disease, clarification needed war, and subsequent social instability. By the 18th century, they were part of a larger global economy brought about by European entry into the fur trade. 28. Some of the indigenous nations that historically inhabited Ohio include the Iroquois, C. the Algonquian, D. and the Siouan. 2930 Ohio country was also the site of Indian massacres, such as the Yellow Creek Massacre and the Gnadenhutten Massacre. 31. After the War of 1812, when natives suffered serious losses, such as at Tippecanoe, most native tribes either left Ohio or had to live on only limited reservations. By 1842, all remaining natives were forced out of the state. 32. Colonial and Revolutionary Erasmain articles, New France, Canada New France, Ohio Country, French and Indian War, Treaty of Paris, 1763, Province of Quebec 1763 to 1791, Indian Reserve 1763, American Revolutionary War, Western Theater of the American Revolutionary War, and Treaty of Paris 1783. During the 18th century, the French set up a system of trading posts to control the fur trade in the region. Beginning in 1754, the Kingdom of France and Kingdom of Great Britain fought in the French and Indian War, with various Native American tribes on each side. As a result of the Treaty of Paris, the French ceded control of Ohio and the remainder of the Old Northwest to Great Britain in 1763. 33. Before the American Revolution, Britain thinly exercised sovereignty over Ohio country by lackadaisical garrisoning of the French forts. Just beyond Ohio country was the great Miami capital of Kikionga, which became the center of British trade and influence in Ohio country and throughout the future Northwest Territory. By the Royal Proclamation of 1763, British lands west of Appalachia were forbidden to settlement by colonists. 34. The Treaty of Fort Stanwix, in 1768, explicitly reserved lands north and west of the Ohio as native lands. 35. British military occupation in the region contributed to the outbreak of Pontiac's War in 1763. 36. Ohio tribes participated in the war until an armed expedition in Ohio, led by Brigadier General Henry Bouquet, brought about a truce. Another colonial military expedition into the Ohio country in 1774 brought Lord Dunmore's War, kicked off by the Yellow Creek Massacre in Ohio, to a conclusion. The prohibition of settlement west of the Appalachians remained, contributing to the American Revolution. 38 By the start of the American Revolutionary War, the movement of natives and Americans between the Ohio country and 13 colonies had resulted in tension. Fort Pitt in Pennsylvania had become the main fort where expeditions into Ohio started. Intrusions into the area included General Edward Hand's 1778 movement of 500 Pennsylvania militiamen from Fort Pitt towards Mingo towns on the Cuyahoga River, where the British stored military supplies, which they distributed to Indian raiding parties. 39. Colonel Daniel Brodhead's invasion in 1780 and destruction of the Lenape Indian capital of Coshocton. 40. A detachment of 100 of George Rogers Clark's troops that were ambushed near the Ohio River by Indians led by Joseph Brant in the same year, a British and Native American attack on the U.S. Fort Lawrence. 41. And the 1780 to detainment and murder of 96 Moravian Lenape pacifists by Pennsylvania militiamen in the Gnadden-Hutton Massacre. 40 to 43. The Western Theater never had a decisive victor. Northwest Territory Maine Articles, Northwest Ordinance, and Northwest Territory of Ohio country indicating battle sites between American settlers and indigenous tribes. 1775 to 1794. The United States created the Northwest Territory under the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. 46. Slavery was not permitted in the new territory. Settlement began with the founding of Marietta by the Ohio Company of Associates, which had been formed by a group of American Revolutionary War veterans. Following the Ohio Company, the Miami Company, also referred to as the Sims Purchase, claimed the southwestern section, and the Connecticut Land Company surveyed and settled the Connecticut Western Reserve in present-day northeast Ohio. Territorial surveyors from Fort Steuben began surveying an area of eastern Ohio called the Seven Ranges at about the same time. The Old Northwest Territory originally included areas previously known as Ohio Country and Illinois Country. As Ohio prepared for statehood, the Indiana Territory was created, reducing the Northwest Territory to approximately the size of present-day Ohio plus the eastern half of the lower peninsula of Muskegon, and the eastern tip of the upper peninsula, and a sliver of southeastern Indiana called the Gore. The coalition of Native American tribes, known as the Western Confederacy, was forced to cede extensive territory, including much of present-day Ohio, in the Treaty of Greenville in 1795. Under the Northwest Ordinance, areas could be defined and admitted as states once their population reached 60,000. Although Ohio's population was only 45,000 in December 1801, Congress determined that it was growing rapidly enough and accelerated the process via the Enabling Act of 1802. In regard to the Lenni Lenape natives, Congress decided that 10,000 acres on the Muskingum River in the present state of Ohio would be set apart and the property thereof be vested in the Moravian Brethren, or a society of the said brethren, for civilizing the Indians and promoting Christianity. 47. Rufus Putnam, the father of Ohio. The landing of Rufus Putnam and the first settlers at Marietta, Ohio in 1788. Rufus Putnam served in important military capacities in both the French and Indian War and the American Revolutionary War. He was one of the most highly respected men in the early years of the United States. 48. In 1776, Putnam created a method of building portable fortifications, which enabled the Continental Army to drive the British from Boston. George Washington was so impressed that he made Putnam his chief engineer. After the war, Putnam and Manasseh Cutler were instrumental in creating the Northwest Ordinance, which opened up the Northwest Territory for settlement. This land was used to serve as compensation for what was owed to Revolutionary War veterans. Putnam organized and led the Ohio Company of Associates, who settled at Marietta, Ohio, where they built a large fort, Campus Martius. 49, 50, 51. He set substantial amounts of land aside for schools. In 1798, He created the plan for the construction of the Muskingum Academy, now Marietta College. In 1780, the directors of the Ohio Company appointed him superintendent of all its affairs relating to the settlement north of the Ohio River. In 1796, President George Washington commissioned him as Surveyor General of United States lands. In 1788, he served as a judge in the Northwest Territories First Court. In 1802, he served in the convention to form a constitution for the state of Ohio. 52, 53, 54. Statehood and early years main articles. Admission to the Union and list of U.S. states by date of admission to the Union on February 19, 1803. U.S. President Thomas Jefferson signed an act of Congress that approved Ohio's boundaries and constitution. 55. But Congress had not passed a formal resolution admitting Ohio as the 17th state, although no formal resolution of admission was required. When the oversight was discovered in 1953, as Ohio began preparations for celebrating its sesquicentennial, Ohio Congressman George H. Bender introduced a bill in Congress to admit Ohio to the Union, retroactive to March 1, 1803, the date on which the Ohio General Assembly first convened. 56. At a special session at the old state capitol in Chillicothe, the Ohio State Legislature approved a new petition for statehood, which was delivered to Washington, D.C., on horseback, and approved that August. 56, 57, 58. Ohio has had three capital cities: Chillicothe, Zanesville, and Columbus. Chillicothe was the capital from 1803 to 1810. The capital was then moved to Zanesville for 2 years as part of a state legislative compromise to get a bill passed. The capital was then moved back to Chillicothe from 1812 to 1816. Finally, the capital was moved to Columbus to be near the state's geographic center. Battle of Lake Erie by William Henry Powell. Many Native Americans migrated west to evade American encroachment. Others remained in the state, sometimes assimilating in part. Starting around 1809, the Shawnee pressed resistance to encroachment again. Under Chief Tecumseh, Tecumseh's War officially began in Ohio in 1811. When the War of 1812 began, the British decided to attack from Upper Canada into Ohio and merge their forces with the Shawnee. This continued until Tecumseh was killed at the Battle of the Thames in 1813. Most of the Shawnee, excluding the Picowie in southwest Ohio, were forcibly relocated west. 59. Ohio played a key role in the War of 1812, as it was on the front line in the Western Theater and the scene of several notable battles, both on land and in Lake Erie. On September 10, 1813, the Battle of Lake Erie, one of the major battles, took place near Put-in Bay, Ohio. The British eventually surrendered to Oliver Hazard Perry. Ultimately, after the U.S. government used the Indian Removal Act of 1830 to force countless Native American tribes on the Trail of Tears, where all the southern states, except for Florida, were successfully emptied of native peoples. The government panicked because most tribes did not want to be forced out of their own lands. Fearing further wars between native tribes and American settlers, they pushed all remaining native tribes in the east to migrate west against their will, including all remaining tribes in Ohio. 60-61 in 1835. Ohio fought with the Michigan Territory in the Toledo War, a mostly bloodless boundary war over the Toledo Strip. Only one person was injured in the conflict. Congress intervened, making Michigan's admittance as a state conditional on ending the conflict. In exchange for giving up its claim to the Toledo Strip, Michigan was given the western two-thirds of the Upper Peninsula, in addition to the eastern third, which was already considered part of the territory. Civil War and industrialization root of Morgan's raid during the American Civil War. Ohio's central position and its population gave it an important place in the Civil War. The Ohio River was a vital artery for troop and supply movements, as were Ohio's railroads. Ohio's industry made it one of the most important states in the Union during the war. It contributed more soldiers per capita than any other state in the Union. In 1862, the state's morale was badly shaken in the aftermath of the Battle of Shiloh, a costly victory in which Ohio forces suffered 1,000 casualties. 62. Later that year, when Confederate troops under the leadership of Stonewall Jackson threatened Washington, D.C., Ohio Governor David Todd recruited 5,000 volunteers to provide 3 months of service. 63. From July 13 to 26, 1863, towns along the Ohio River were attacked and ransacked in Morgan's raid, starting in Harrison in the west and culminating in the Battle of Salinaville near West Point in the F.R. East. While this raid was overall insignificant to the Confederacy, it aroused fear among people in Ohio and Indiana, as it was the furthest advancement of troops from the South in the war. 64. Almost 35,000 Ohioans died in the conflict, and 30,000 were physically wounded. 65. By the end of the Civil War, the Union's top 3 generals, Ulysses S. Grant, William Tecumseh Sherman, and Philip Sheridan, were all from Ohio. 66. The first Standard Oil refinery was opened in Cleveland by businessman John D. Rockefeller. During much of the 19th century, industry was rapidly introduced to complement an existing agricultural economy. One of the first iron manufacturing plants, Hopewell Furnace, opened near Youngstown in 1804. By the mid-19th century, 48 blast furnaces were operating in Ohio, most in the southern part of the state. 67. Discovery of coal deposits aided the further development of Ohio's steel industry, and by 1853, Cleveland was the nation's third largest iron and steel producer. The first Bessemer converter was purchased by the Cleveland Rolling Mill Company, which became part of the U.S. Steel Corporation after the merger of Federal Steel Company and Carnegie Steel, the first billion-dollar American corporation. 67. The first open hearth furnace used for steel production was constructed by the Otis Steel Company in Cleveland, and by 1892, Ohio was the second-largest steel-producing state, behind Pennsylvania. 67. Republic Steel was founded in Youngstown in 1899 and was at one point the nation's third-largest producer. Armco, now AK Steel, was founded in Middletown in 1899. 20th century. The state legislature officially adopted the flag of Ohio on May 9, 1902. 68. Dayton natives Orville and Wilbur Wright made for brief flights at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, on December 17, 1903, inventing the first successful airplane. 69. Ohio was hit by its greatest natural disaster in the Great Flood of 1913, resulting in at least 428 fatalities and hundreds of millions of dollars in property damage, particularly around the Great Miami River Basin. 70. The National Football League was originally founded in Canton, Ohio in 1920 as the American Professional Football Conference. 71. It included Ohio League teams in 5 Ohio cities: Akron, Canton, Cleveland, Columbus, and Dayton, none of which still exist. The first official game occurred on October 3, 1920, when the Dayton Triangles beat the Columbus Panhandles 14-0 in Dayton. 72. Canton was enshrined as the home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1963. 73. During the 1930s, the Great Depression struck the state hard. By 1933, more than 40% of factory workers and 67% of construction workers were unemployed in Ohio. 74. Cleveland residents Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster created the Superman comic character in the spirit of the Jewish golem. Many of their comics portrayed Superman fighting and defeating the Nazis. 75. 76. Approximately 839,000 Ohioans served in the U.S. Armed Forces during World War II, of whom over 23,000 died or were missing in action. 77. Artists, writers, musicians, and actors developed in the state throughout the 20th century and often moved to other cities that were larger centers for their work. They included Zane Grey, Milton Caniff, George Bellows, Art Tatum, Roy Lichtenstein, and Roy Rogers. Alan Freed, who emerged from the swing dance culture in Cleveland, hosted the first live rock and roll concert in Cleveland in 1952. Famous filmmakers include Steven Spielberg, Chris Columbus, and the original Warner Brothers, who set up their first movie theater in Youngstown before the company relocated to California. Two Ohio astronauts completed significant milestones in the space race in the 1960s, John Glenn becoming the first American to orbit the Earth, and Neil Armstrong becoming the first human to walk on the moon. In 1967, Carl Stokes was elected mayor of Cleveland and became the first African-American mayor of one of the nation's 10 most populous cities, 78. In 1970, an Ohio Army National Guard unit fired at students during an anti-war protest at Kent State University, killing 4 and wounding 9. The Guard had been called onto campus after several protests in and around campus became violent, including a riot in downtown Kent and the burning of an ROTC building. The main cause of the protests was the United States invasion of Cambodia during the Vietnam War. 79 Ohio was an important state in the developing ties between the United States and the People's Republic of China in the late 1970s and early 1980s. 80 relations between the two countries normalized in 1979 during the second term of Ohio Governor Jim Rhodes. 80 Rhodes sought to encourage economic ties, viewing China as a potential market for Ohio machinery exports. 80. In July 1979, Rhodes led a state of Ohio trade mission to China. 80. The trip resulted in developing economic ties, a sister state province relationship with Hubei province, long-running Chinese exhibitions at the Ohio State Fair, and major academic exchanges between Ohio State University and Wuhan University. 80. Beginning in the 1980s, the state entered into international economic and resource cooperation treaties and organizations with other Midwestern states, as well as New York, Pennsylvania, Ontario, and Quebec, including the Great Lakes Charter, Great Lakes Compact, and the Council of Great Lakes Governors. 21st century Ohio's economy has undergone significant change in the 21st century, as the trend of deindustrialization has greatly impacted the American Midwest and the Rust Belt. Manufacturing in the Midwest experienced a stark decline during the early 21st century. 81. A trend that greatly impacted Ohio. From 1990 to 2019, it lost over 300,000 manufacturing jobs, but added over 1 million non-manufacturing jobs. 81. Coinciding with this decline, Ohio has seen a large decline in union membership. 17.4% of Ohioan workers were union members in 2000, while 12.8% were union members in 2022. 82. In the wake of these economic changes, Ohio's state government has looked to promoting new industries to offset manufacturing losses, such as the production of solar energy and electric vehicles. 83. One major program the state government launched was the Third Frontier Program, created during the governorship of Bob Taft, which aimed to increase investment in Ohio and boost its technology sector. 84. As of 2010, the Ohio Department of Development attributes the creation of 9,500 jobs to this program, with an average salary of $65,000. 85. While having a $6.6 billion economic impact with a return on investment of 9 to 1. 85. In 2010, the state won the International Economic Development Council's Excellence in Economic Development Award, celebrated as a national model of success. Ohio's economy was also heavily afflicted by the Great Recession, as the state's unemployment rate rose from 5.6% in the first 2 months of 2008 up to a peak of 11.1% in December 2009 and January 2010. 86. It took until August 2014 for the unemployment rate to return to 5.6%. 86. From December 2007 to September 2010, Ohio lost 376,500 jobs. 87. In 2009, Ohio had 89,053 foreclosures filings, a then record for the state. 88. The median household income dropped 7% from 2006-7 to 2008-9, and the poverty rate ballooned to 13.5% by 2009-89. By 2015, Ohio gross domestic product was $608.1 billion, the seventh largest economy among the 50 states. 90. In 2015, Ohio's total GDP accounted for 3.4% of U.S. GDP and 0.8% of world GDP. 90. Politically, Ohio has been long regarded as a swing state. 91. But the success of many Republican candidates in Ohio since the late 2000s has led many to question whether Ohio remains an electoral battleground. 91. 92. 93. On March 9, 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic reached Ohio, with 3 cases reported. 94. As of February 2023, over 41,600 Ohioans have died from COVID-19. 94. 95. Ohio's economy was also heavily impacted by the pandemic, as the state saw large job losses in 2020, as well as large amounts of subsequent stimulus spending. 96. Geographic information. List of Ohio counties. List of cities in Ohio. List of villages in Ohio. List of Ohio townships, Ohio public lands, and list of lakes in Ohio. Geographic regions of Ohio's location has proven to be an asset for economic growth and expansion because it links the Northeast to the Midwest. Much cargo and business traffic passes through its borders along its well-developed highways. Ohio has the nation's 10th largest highway network and is within a one-day drive of 50% of North America's population and 70% of North America's manufacturing capacity. 97. To the north, Ohio has 312 miles 500 kilometers of coastline with Lake Erie. 98, which allows for numerous cargo ports, such as Cleveland and Toledo. Ohio's southern border is defined by the Ohio River. Ohio's neighbors are Pennsylvania to the east, Michigan to the northwest, Lake Erie to the north, Indiana to the west, Kentucky on the south, and West Virginia on the southeast. Ohio's borders were defined by Medes and bounds in the Enabling Act of 1802 as follows: bounded on the east by the Pennsylvania line, on the south by the Ohio River, to the mouth of the Great Miami River, on the west by the line drawn due north from the mouth of the Great Miami aforesaid, and on the north by an east and west line drawn through the southerly extreme of Lake Michigan, running east after intersecting the due north line aforesaid, from the mouth of the Great Miami until it shall intersect Lake Erie or the territorial line, and thence with the same through Lake Erie to the Pennsylvania line aforesaid. Ohio is bounded by the Ohio River, but nearly all of the river belongs to Kentucky and West Virginia. In 1980, the U.S. Supreme Court held that, based on the wording of the cessation of territory by Virginia, which at the time included what is now Kentucky and West Virginia, the boundary between Ohio and Kentucky and, by implication, West Virginia, is the northern low water mark of the river as it existed in 1792. 99. Ohio has only that portion of the river between the river's 1792 low water mark and the present high water mark. The border with Michigan has also changed, as a result of the Toledo War, to angle slightly northeast to the north shore of the mouth of the Maumee River. Much of Ohio features glaciated till plains, with an exceptionally flat area in the northwest being known as the Great Black Swamp. This glaciated region in the northwest and central state is bordered to the east and southeast first by a belt known as the Glaciated Allegheny Plateau, and then by another belt known as the Unglaciated Allegheny Plateau. Ohio's rugged southeastern quadrant, stretching in an outward bow-like arc along the Ohio River from the West Virginia Panhandle to the outskirts of Cincinnati, forms a distinct socio-economic unit, geologically similar to parts of West Virginia and southwestern Pennsylvania. This area's coal mining legacy, dependence on small pockets of old manufacturing establishments, and distinctive regional dialects set this section off from the rest of the state. In 1965, Congress passed the Appalachian Regional Development Act, an attempt to address the persistent poverty and growing economic despair of the Appalachian region. 100. It defines 29 Ohio counties as part of Appalachia. 101. While one-third of Ohio's land mass is part of the federally defined Appalachian region, only 12.8% of Ohioans live there. 1.476 million people. 100. Significant Ohio rivers include the Cuyahoga River, Great Miami River, Maumee River, Muskingum River, and Scioto River. The rivers in northern Ohio drain into the northern Atlantic Ocean via Lake Erie and the St. Lawrence River, and those in southern Ohio drain into the Gulf of Mexico via the Ohio River and the Mississippi. Ohio also includes Bass Islands and Kelly's Island. 103. This body of water, over 20 square miles, 50 square kilometers, was the largest artificial lake in the world when completed in 1845. 100. For Ohio's canal building projects were not the economic fiasco that similar efforts were in other states. Some cities, such as Dayton, owe their industrial emergence to their location on canals, and as late as 1910 interior canals carried much of the bulk freight of the state. Areas under the protection of the National Park Service include Cuyahoga Valley National Park, Hopewell Culture National Historical Park, Dayton Aviation Heritage National Historical Park, First Ladies National Historic Site, James A. Garfield National Historic Site, William Howard Taft National Historic Site, and the Charles Young Buffalo Soldiers National Monument and Perry's Victory and International Peace Memorial. 105. Phoniastern hellbender in Captivitohio has wide variety of unique animal species. Rare and endangered species include the eastern hellbender, which is found in the southeastern Appalachian region of Ohio and is classified as state endangered. 106. The eastern hellbender is the third largest amphibian in the world and can grow up to 27 inches in length. It is fully aquatic and breathes almost entirely through its skin. Due to this, it is only found in pristine, cool, clear, fast-flowing streams and rivers. It is highly threatened by habitat loss, water pollution, and sedimentation due to logging and other human activities. 107. Climate. See also Climate change in Ohio. Köppen climate types of Ohio, using 1991 to 2020 climate normals. The climate of Ohio is a humid continental climate, Köppen climate classification DFA, DFB throughout most of the state, except in the extreme southern counties of Ohio's Bluegrass region section, which are located on the northern periphery of the humid subtropical climate CFA and upland, south region of the United States. Summers are typically hot and humid throughout the state, while winters generally range from cool to cold. Precipitation in Ohio is moderate year-round. Severe weather is not uncommon in the state, although there are typically fewer tornado reports in Ohio than in states located in what is known as the Tornado Alley. Severe lake effect snowstorms are also not uncommon on the southeast shore of Lake Erie, which is located in an area designated as the Snowbelt. Although predominantly not in a subtropical climate, some warmer climate flora and fauna do reach well into Ohio. For instance, some trees with more southern ranges, such as the blackjack oak, Quercus marylandica, are found at their northernmost in Ohio just north of the Ohio River, also evidencing this climatic transition from a subtropical to a continental climate. Several plants, such as the southern magnolia, Magnolia grandiflora, Albizia julibrissin mimosa, crepe myrtle, and even the occasional needle palm, are hardy landscape materials regularly used as street, yard, and garden plantings in the bluegrass region of Ohio. But these same plants will simply not thrive in much of the rest of the state. This interesting change may be observed while traveling through Ohio on Interstate 75 from Cincinnati to Toledo. The observant traveler of this diverse state may even catch a glimpse of Cincinnati's common wall lizard, one of the few examples of permanent subtropical fauna in Ohio. The highest recorded temperature was 113 degrees Fahrenheit, 45 Celsius, near Gallipolis on July 21, 1934. 108. As a result, The Miami Conservancy District was created as the first major floodplain engineering project in Ohio and the United States. 112. Although few have registered as noticeable to the average resident, more than 200 earthquakes with a magnitude of 2.0 or higher have occurred in Ohio since 1776. 113. The Western Ohio Seismic Zone and a portion of the Southern Great Lakes Seismic Zone are located in the state, and numerous faults lie under the surface. 113. 114. The most substantial known earthquake in Ohio history was the Anna Shelby County earthquake. 115, which occurred on March 9, 1937. Other significant earthquakes in Ohio include 117, one of magnitude 4.8 near Lima on September 19, 1884. 118, one of magnitude 4.2 near Portsmouth on May 17, 1901. 119, and one of 5.0 in Leroy Township in Lake County on January 31, 1986, which continued to trigger 13 aftershocks of magnitude 0.5 to 2.4 for 2 months. 121. Notable Ohio earthquakes in the 21st century include one occurring on December 31, 2011, approximately 4 kilometers to 0.5 miles northwest of Youngstown. 122, and one occurring on June 10, 2019, approximately 5 kilometers 3.1 miles northwest of Eastlake under Lake Erie. 123 both City SE also. List of cities in Ohio. Population density. Mapohio Municipality are 13 metropolitan statistical areas in Ohio, anchored by 16 cities, as defined by the U.S. Office of Management and Budget. Additionally, 30 Ohio cities function as centers of micropolitan statistical areas, urban clusters smaller than that of metropolitan areas. Ohio's 3 largest cities are Columbus, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. Columbus is the capital of the state, near its geographic center, and is well known for Ohio State University. In 2019, the city had 6 corporations named to the U.S. Fortune 500 list. Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company, American Electric Power, L Brands, Huntington Bankshares, and Cardinal Health in suburban Dublin. 120. 125 other major employers include hospitals, among others, Wexner Medical Center and Nationwide Children's Hospital, high-tech research and development including the Battelle Memorial Institute, information-based companies such as OCLC and Chemical Abstract Service, manufacturer Worthington Industries, and financial institutions such as Morgan Chase and Huntington Bankshares. Fast food chains Wendy's and White Castle are also headquartered in Columbus. Located in northeast Ohio along the Lake Erie shore, Cleveland is characterized by its New England heritage, ethnic immigrant cultures, and history as a major American manufacturing and healthcare center. It anchors the Cleveland-Akron-Canton combined statistical area, of which the industrial cities of Akron and Canton are constituent parts. Mansfield, Sandusky, and Youngstown are also major cities in the region. Northeast Ohio is known for major industrial companies Goodyear Tire and Rubber and Timken, top-ranked colleges Case Western Reserve University, Oberlin College, and Kent State University, the Cleveland Clinic, and cultural attractions including the Cleveland Museum of Art, Big 5-member Cleveland Orchestra, Cuyahoga Valley National Park, Playhouse Square, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Cincinnati anchors Southwest Ohio and the Cincinnati metropolitan area, which also encompasses counties in Kentucky and Indiana. The metropolitan area is home to Miami University and the University of Cincinnati, Cincinnati Union Terminal, Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra, and various Fortune 500 companies, including Procter & Gamble, Kroger, Macy's, Inc., and Fifth Third Bank. Dayton and Springfield are in the Miami Valley, which is home to the University of Dayton, the Dayton Ballet, and the extensive Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Toledo and Lima are the major cities in northwest Ohio, an area known for its glass-making industry. It is home to Owens Corning and Owens, Illinois, to Fortune 500 corporations. Steubenville is the only metropolitan city in Appalachian, Ohio, a region known for its mixed mesophytic forests. Other metropolitan areas that contain cities in Ohio but are primarily in other states include the Huntington, West Virginia, and Wheeling, West Virginia areas. Ohio is the U.S. state with the highest number of cities with the same name as UK cities. 126. Population from just over 45,000 residents in 1800. Ohio's population grew faster than 10% per decade, except for the 1940 census until the 1970 census, which recorded just over 10.65 million Ohioans. 130. Growth then slowed for the next 4 decades. 131. The United States Census Bureau counted 11,808,848 in the 2020 census, a 2.4% increase since the 2010 United States Census. 132. Ohio's population growth lags that of the entire United States, and whites are found in a greater density than the U.S. average. As of 2000, Ohio's center of population is located in Morrow County, 133 in the county seat of Mount Gilead. 134. This is approximately 6,346 feet, 1,934 meters, south and west of Ohio's population center in 1990. 133 graphs are unavailable due to technical issues. Updates on re-implementing the graph extension, which will be known as the chart extension, can be found on Fabricator and on MediaWiki.org. Graph of Ohio's population from 1800 to 2020 census. Population growth by county in Ohio between the 2010 and 2020 censuses. Approximately 6.2% of Ohio's population was under 5 years of age, 23.7% under 18 years of age, and 14.1% were 65 or older. Females made up an estimated 51.2% of the population. According to HUD's 2022 Annual Homeless Assessment Report, there were an estimated 10,650 for homeless people in Ohio. 136. 137. Religious self-identification. Per Public Religion Research Institute's 2021 American Values Survey, 158, Protestantism 46%. Catholicism 18%, unaffiliated 30%, Judaism 2%, Hinduism 1%, other 3%. According to Public Religion Research Institute's 2021 American Values Survey, 64% of Ohioans identified as Christian. Specifically, 19% of Ohio's population identified as mainline Protestant, 17% as evangelical Protestant, 7% as historically black Protestant, and 18% as Catholic. Roughly 30% of the population were unaffiliated with any religious body. Small minorities of Jews 2%, Hindus 1%, Jehovah's Witnesses 1%, Muslims 1%, Buddhists 1%, Mormons 1%, and other faiths exist according to this study. 158. Altogether, those identifying with a religion or spiritual tradition were 70% of the state's population. Per the Association of Religion Data Archives' ARDA 2020 study, Christianity remained the predominant religion. Non-denominational Christianity, numbering 1,411,863, were the largest Protestant cohort, although Catholicism remained the single largest denomination with 1,820,233 adherents. 159. According to the ARDA, in 2010 the largest Christian denominations by adherents were the Catholic Church with 1,992,567, the United Methodist Church with 496,232, the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America with 223,253, the Southern Baptist Convention with 171,000, the Christian Churches and Churches of Christ with 141,311, the United Church of Christ with 118,000, and the Presbyterian Church, USA, with 110,000. 160, with about 80,000 adherents in 2020, Ohio had the second largest Amish population of all U.S. states, only behind neighboring Pennsylvania. 161, according to a Pew Forum poll in 2014, a majority of Ohioans, 56%, felt religion was very important, 25% that it was somewhat important, and 19% that religion was not too important. Now, among them, 38% of Ohioans indicate that they attend religious services at least once weekly, 32% occasionally, and 30% seldom or never. 162. Economy main article. Economy of Ohio. See also. Ohio locations by per capita income Melachid C5 Galaxy at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the total number of people employed in 2016 was 4,790,001. The total number of unique employer establishments was 252,201, while the total number of non-employer establishments was 785,833. 163. In 2010, Ohio was ranked second in the country for Best Business Climate by Site Selection magazine, based on a business activity database. 164. The state has also won 3 consecutive Governor's Cup awards from the magazine, based on business growth and developments. 165. As of 2016, Ohio's gross domestic product GDP was $626 billion. 166. This ranks Ohio's economy as the 7th largest among all 50 states and Washington, D.C. 167. The Small Business and Entrepreneurship Council ranked the state No. 10 for Best Business-Friendly Tax Systems in their Business Tax Index 2009, including a top corporate tax and capital gains rate that were both ranked No. 6 at 1.9%. 168. Ohio was ranked No. 11 by the Council for Best Friendly Policy States according to their Small Business Survival Index 2009. 169. The Directorship's Boardroom Guide ranked the state No. 13 overall for Best Business Climate, including No. 7 for Best Litigation Climate. 170. Forbes ranked the state No. 8 for Best Regulatory Environment in 2009. 171. Ohio has 5 of the top 115 colleges in the nation, according to U.S. News & World Report's 2010 rankings. 172, and was ranked No. 8 by the same magazine in 2008 for best high schools. 173. Ohio's unemployment rate stands at 4.5% as of February 2018. 174, down from 10.7% in May 2010. The state still lacks 45,000 jobs compared to the pre-recession numbers of 2007. 177. The labor force participation as of April 2015 is 63%, slightly above the national average. 177. As of 2023, Ohio's per capita income was $60,400, ranking 38th in the U.S., and the state's median household income was $65,720. 178. 179. Also in 2023, 13.4% of the population was living below. The Goodyear blimp is operated by Akron-based Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. The manufacturing and financial activity sectors each compose 18.3% of Ohio's GDP, making them Ohio's largest industries by percentage of GDP. 167. Ohio has the 3rd largest manufacturing workforce behind California and Texas. 181. 182. Ohio has the largest bioscience sector in the Midwest and is a national leader in the green economy. Ohio is the largest producer in the country of plastics, rubber, fabricated metals, electrical equipment, and appliances. 183. 5,212,000 Ohioans are currently employed by wage or salary. 167. By employment, Ohio's largest sector is trade, transportation, utilities, which employs 1,010,000 Ohioans, or 19.4% of Ohio's workforce, while the healthcare and education sector employs 825,000 Ohioans, 15.8%. 167 government employs 787,000 Ohioans, 15.1%. Manufacturing employs 669,000 Ohioans, 12.9%. And professional and technical services employs 638,000 Ohioans, 12.2%. 167 Ohio's manufacturing sector is the third largest of all 50 United States in terms of gross domestic product. 59 of the United States' top 1,000 publicly traded companies by revenue in 2008 are headquartered in Ohio, including Procter & Gamble, Goodyear Tire and Rubber, AK Steel, Timken, Abercrombie & Fitch, and Wendy's. 180 for Ohio is also one of 41 states with its own lottery. 185. The Ohio Lottery. 186. As of 2020, the Ohio Lottery has contributed more than $26 billion to education beginning in 1974. 187. Income inequality in Ohio, both before and after taxes, has risen significantly since the 1970s. 188. Ohio's overall income grew in Ohio from 2009 to 2012, with an overall 7.1% increase in income growth. The top 1% had a 37.0% in income growth, while the bottom 99% grew their income by only 2.3%. The top 1% accounted for 71.9% of the overall shared income during this period. 189. The burden of income tax falls disproportionately on lower income tax brackets. In 2018, the bottom 20% of earners contributed 12.3% of their income towards various taxes, while the top 1% only paid 6.5%. 190. The Lockheed C-5 Galaxy is a large military transport aircraft designed and built by Lockheed, and now maintained and upgraded by its successor. It provides the United States Air Force, USAF, with a heavy intercontinental range strategic airlift capability, one that can carry outsized and oversized loads, including all air certifiable cargo. The Galaxy has many similarities to the smaller Lockheed C-141 Starlifter and the later Boeing C-17 Globemaster III. The C-5 is among the largest military aircraft in the world. The C-5 Galaxy's development was complicated, including significant cost overruns, and Lockheed suffered significant financial difficulties. Shortly after entering service, cracks in the wings of many aircraft were discovered, and the C-5 fleet was restricted in capability until corrective work was completed. The C-5M Super Galaxy is an upgraded version with new engines and modernized avionics designed to extend its service life to 2040 and beyond. The USAF has operated the C-5 since 1969. In that time, the airlifter supported U.S. military operations in all major conflicts, including Vietnam, Iraq, Yugoslavia, and Afghanistan, as well as allied support, such as Israel during the Yom Kippur War and operations in the Gulf War. The Galaxy has also distributed humanitarian aid, provided disaster relief, and supported the U.S. space program. Art with about 770,000 annual visitors, the Cleveland Museum of Art is among the most visited art museums in the United States. 191 Ohio is home to 30 art institutions, including the Columbus Museum of Art, Cincinnati Art Museum, Cleveland Museum of Art, and other entities. The full list includes the Cleveland Museum of Art. CMA is an art museum in Cleveland, Ohio, United States, located in the Wade Park district of University Circle. The museum is internationally renowned for its substantial holdings of Asian and Egyptian art and houses a diverse permanent collection of more than 61,000 works of art from around the world. 4. The museum provides free general admission to the public. With a $920 million endowment 2023, It is the fourth wealthiest art museum in the United States. 5.6, with about 770,000 visitors annually 2018. It is one of the most visited art museums in the world. 7. The Akron Art Museum is an art museum. In Akron, Ohio, the museum first opened on February 1, 1922, as the Akron Art Institute. It was located into borrowed rooms in the basement of the public library. 1. The Institute offered classes in arts appreciation, which were organized by Edwin Coupland Shaw and his wife Jennifer Bonshaw. 2. Its first permanent home was the Akron Public Library, a Carnegie Library building, from 1948 to 1981. 3. It has grown considerably since 1922. The new museum was open to the public on July 17, 2007, and hosts visiting shows from national and international collections. The Allen Memorial Art Museum Amman is an art museum located in Oberlin, Ohio, and it is run by Oberlin College. Founded in 1917, the collection contains over 15,000 works of art. 3. EAMAM is primarily a teaching museum and is aimed at the students, faculty, and staff of Oberlin College, in addition to the surrounding community. Notable strengths include 17th century Dutch and Flemish art, 19th and early 20th century European and contemporary American art, as well as Asian, European, and American works on paper. The collection is housed in an Italian Renaissance-style building designed by Cass Gilbert and named after its founder, Dr. Dudley Peter Allen B.A., 1875, a graduate and trustee of Oberlin College and the first husband of Elizabeth Severance Prentice, whose bequest as Mrs. F.F. Prentice included parts of her art collection started during her first marriage. 1. In 1977, Robert Venturi and Denise Scott Brown designed an addition that represents one of the earliest examples of postmodern architecture in the United States. Citation needed. In 2011, the Historic Museum underwent a 2-year retrofit, after which it was awarded with USGBC LEED Gold certification. For the McDonough Museum of Art is a center for contemporary art located in Youngstown, Ohio, U.S., on the campus of Youngstown State University YSU. Opened in 1991 in a building designed by Gwami Siegel and Associates Architects, the museum focuses on contemporary art through exhibits and art education. The origins of the museum begin in 1986 through the donations and efforts of local physician and art collector John J. McDonough, who used proceeds from the sale of his painting Gloucester Harbor by Childe Hassam to fund construction. 1. Along with the proceeds from McDonough, attorney Paul M. Dutton and the state of Ohio assisted in the effort to finally begin construction in the fall of 1990. The museum features changing exhibitions, installations, performances, and lectures by regional, national, and international artists, and also functions as public outreach for the YSU College of Creative Arts and the Department of Art, exhibiting work by students, faculty, and alumni. In addition, the museum offers free lectures, performances, and programs organized in collaboration with various departments at the university and the Youngstown community at large. The Billy Ireland Cartoon Library and Museum is a research library of American cartoons and comic art affiliated with the Ohio State University Library System in Columbus, Ohio, formerly known as the Cartoon Research Library and the Cartoon Library and Museum. It holds the world's largest and most comprehensive academic research facility documenting and displaying original and printed comic strips, editorial cartoons, and cartoon art. The museum is named after the Ohio cartoonist Billy Ireland. 1. Covering comic books, daily strips, Sunday strips, editorial cartoons, graphic novels, magazine cartoons, and sports cartoons. The collection includes 450,000 original cartoons, 36,000 books, 51,000 serial titles, and 3,000 feet 910 meters of manuscript materials, plus 2.5 million comic strip clippings and tear sheets. Cuisine main article. Cuisine of Ohio Buckeyes are a variation of standard peanut butter cups, popular in Ohio. Coated in chocolate, with a partially exposed center of peanut butter fudge, the candy resembles the appearance of the nut that grows on the state tree, commonly known as the Buckeye. The Klondike bar originated in Mansfield in 1922. 197. Dum Dums lollipops were originally produced in Bellevue, Ohio in 1924, and have been made by Spangler Candy Company in Bryan, Ohio since 1953. 198. Cincinnati-style chili is a Greek-inspired meat sauce used as a topping for spaghetti or hot dogs. Additionally, red beans, chopped onions, and shredded cheese are offered as extra toppings referred to as ways. 199. German immigrants in Cincinnati invented Gouda, a breakfast sausage made of meat scraps, spices, and oats. It is typically eaten fried. 200. 201. 200 to the Polish boy. The signature sandwich of Cleveland, 203, is a kielbasa sausage topped with coleslaw, French fries, and barbecue sauce and served on a bun. 200 for Johnny Marzetti is a casserole dish thought to have originated from Columbus and consisting of some variation of noodles, ground beef, tomatoes, and cheese. 205. 206. Ohio has hosted nationwide fast food companies, including the first Arby's, 207 Buffalo Wild Wings, 208 Stewart's, 209, 210, and Wendy's. The latter is headquartered in Dublin, Ohio. The hamburger chain White Castle is also based in Columbus. 212. Stewart's restaurants are classic 1950s-style fast food restaurants located throughout the United States. Restaurants are branded as Stewart's Root Beer or Stewart's Drive-In or similar variations. Started in 1924 in Mansfield, Ohio by Frank Stewart, the chain became a franchise in 1931. As of 2021, there are 30 locations open in the United States, the majority of which are located in New Jersey, with the rest in New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. Dublin is a city in the U.S. state of Ohio. A suburb of Columbus, it falls within the jurisdictions of Franklin, Delaware, and Union counties. 5. The population was 49,328 at the 2020 census. 6. Dublin has the highest concentration of Asians of any Ohio city. The Dublin Irish Festival advertises itself as the largest three-day Irish festival in the world. Music main article. Music of Ohio Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Rhythm and Blues Music Hall of Fame are both located in Cleveland. Cleveland disc jockey Alan Freed is credited with coining the term and promoting rock and roll in the early 1950s. Cincinnati is home to the American Classical Music Hall of Fame and Museum. 6 Ohio musicians are Rock and Roll Hall of Fame members: Dave Grohl, Nirvana, and Foo Fighters, the Isley Brothers, 9 Inch Nails, Bobby Womack, Benjamin or the Cars, and Chrissy Hinn, the Pretenders, in addition to Alan Freed. Other popular musicians from Ohio include Mamie Smith, Dean Martin, Tyler Joseph, and Josh Dunn of 21 Pilots, Frankie Yankovic, Doris Day, the McGuire Sisters, Howard Hewitt, Shirley Murdoch, Bo Skaggs, John Legend, Marilyn Manson, Starset, Dan Auerbach, and Patrick Carney of the Black Keys, Griffin Lane, Joe Dolce, Kid Cudi, William Bootsy Collins, Stephanie Eulenberg of Kid Rock's Twisted Brown Trucker Band, and Devo. The Cleveland Orchestra is one of the historic Big Five orchestras in the U.S. and considered among the best worldwide. 213. Many other Ohio cities are home to their own orchestras, including Akron, Blue Ash, Canton, Cincinnati, Columbus, Dayton, Toledo, and Youngstown. Cincinnati is home to its own ballet, symphony orchestra, Pops Orchestra, and opera, all housed at the Cincinnati Music Hall. Dayton is also home to a ballet, orchestra, and opera, collectively known as the Dayton Performing Arts Alliance. Within the marching arts, Winter Guard International has hosted national championships in performing arts at the University of Dayton 18 times between 1983 and 2003, and has permanently since 2005. The Bluecoats Drum and Bugle Corps are Ohio's highest fielding drum corps, competing in the Drum Corps International World Class Circuit out of Canton. Sports main article. Sports in Ohio. Professional sports. Great American Ballpark, home to the Cincinnati Reds baseball team. Ohio is home to 8 professional sports teams across the 5 different major leagues in the United States. Current teams include the Cincinnati Reds and Cleveland Guardians of Major League Baseball. 215 the Columbus Crew and FC Cincinnati of Major League Soccer. 216 the Cleveland Cavaliers of the National Basketball Association. 217 the Cincinnati Bengals and Cleveland Browns of the National Football League. 218 and the Columbus Blue Jackets of the National Hockey League. 219 Ohio has brought home 7 World Series titles: Reds 1919, 1940, 1975, 1976, 1990, Indians 1920, 1948, 3 MLS Cups: Crew 2008, 2020, 2023, 1 NBA championship, Cavaliers 2016, and 9 NFL championships: Pros 1920, Bulldogs 1922, 1923, 1924, Rams 1945, Browns 1950, 1954, 1955, 1964. Despite this success in the NFL in the first half of the 20th century, no Ohio team has won the Super Bowl since its inception in 1967. No Ohio team has made an appearance in the Stanley Cup Finals. The Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio played a central role in the development of both Major League Baseball and the National Football League. Baseball's first fully professional team, the Cincinnati Red Stockings of 1869, were organized in Ohio. 220. An informal early 20th century American Football Association, the Ohio League, was the direct predecessor of the modern NFL. Although neither of Ohio's modern NFL franchises trace their roots to an Ohio League club, the NFL itself was founded in Canton in 1920 as the American Professional Football Conference. 71. The first official game occurred on October 3, 1920, when the Dayton Triangles beat the Columbus Panhandles 14-0 in Dayton. 72. The Cleveland Guardians are an American professional baseball team based in Cleveland. The Guardians compete in Major League Baseball (MLB) as a member club of the American League AL Central Division. Since 1994, the team has played its home games at Progressive Field, originally known as Jacobs Field, after the team's then owner. Since their establishment as a Major League franchise in 1901, the team has won 12 Central Division titles, 6 American League pennants, and 2 World Series championships in 1920 and 1948. The team's World Series championship drought since 1948 is the longest active among all 30 current Major League teams. 3. The team's name references the Guardians of Traffic, 8 monolithic 1932 Art Deco sculptures by Henry Herring on the city's Hope Memorial Bridge, for which is adjacent to Progressive Field. 5-6. The team's mascot is named Slider. 7. The team's spring training facility is at Goodyear Ballpark in Goodyear, Arizona. 8. The franchise originated in 1896 as the Columbus Buckeyes, also known as the Columbus Senators, a minor league team based in Columbus, Ohio, that played in the Western League. 9-10. The team relocated to Grand Rapids, Michigan mid-season in 1899, where they were known as the Grand Rapids Furniture Makers. 11. In 1900, the franchise moved to Cleveland and was called the Cleveland Lake Shores. 12. The Western League itself was renamed the American League prior to the 1900 season while continuing its minor league status. When the American League declared itself a major league in 1901, Cleveland was one of its 8 charter franchises. Originally called the Cleveland Bluebirds or Blues, the team was also unofficially called the Cleveland Broncos in 1902. Beginning in 1903, the team was named the Cleveland Napoleons or Naps, after team captain and manager Nap Lajoie. Lajoie left after the 1914 season, and club owner Charles Summers requested that baseball writers choose a new name. They chose the name Cleveland Indians. 1314. That name stuck and remained in use for more than a century. Common nicknames for the Indians were the Tribe and the Wahoos, the latter referencing their longtime logo, Chief Wahoo. After the Indians' name came under criticism as part of the Native American mascot controversy, the team adopted the current name Guardians following the 2021 season. From August 24th to September 14th, 2017, the team won 20 consecutive games, the longest winning streak in American League history, and the second longest winning streak in Major League Baseball history. As of the end of the 2024 season, the franchise's overall Major League record is 9,852 to 9,369.513. 15. Major League Baseball (MLB) is a professional baseball league composed of 30 teams, divided equally between the National League (NL) and the American League (AL), with 29 in the United States and 1 in Canada. MLB is one of the major professional sports leagues in the United States and Canada and is considered the premier professional baseball league in the world. Each team plays 162 games per season, with opening day traditionally held during the first week of April. 6 teams in each league then advance to a 4-round postseason tournament in October, culminating in the World Series, a best-of-7 championship series between the 2 league champions first played in 1903. MLB is headquartered in Midtown Manhattan. 7. The Cincinnati Red Stockings were the first professional team, formed in 1876 and 1901, respectively. The NL and AL cemented their cooperation with the national agreement in 1903, making MLB the oldest major professional sports league in the world. 1617. They remained legally separate entities until 2000, when they merged into a single organization led by the Commissioner of Baseball. 3/7/1804. Baseball's first all-professional team, the Cincinnati Red Stockings, was founded in 1869. 1920. The first few decades of professional baseball saw rivalries between leagues, and players often jumped from one team or league to another. 21. These practices were essentially ended by the National Agreement of 1903, in which AL and NL agreed to respect each other's player contracts, including the contentious reserve clause. The period from about 1900 to 1920 was the dead ball era, when home runs were rarely hit. 22. Professional baseball was rocked by the Black Sox scandal, a conspiracy to fix the 1919 World Series. Baseball survived the scandal, albeit with major changes in its governance, as the relatively weak National Commission was replaced with a powerful Commissioner of Baseball with near unlimited authority over the sport. MLB rose in popularity in the decade following the Black Sox scandal, and unlike major leagues in other sports, it endured the Great Depression and World War II without any of its teams folding. Shortly after the war, Jackie Robinson broke baseball's color barrier. Some teams moved to different cities in the 1950s and 1960s. The AL and NL added 8 clubs in the 1960s, 2 in 1961, 2 in 1962, and for 1969, 20 for player discontent with established labor practices, especially the reserve clause, led to the organization of the Major League Baseball Players Association to collectively bargain with the owners, which in turn led to the introduction of free agency in baseball. Modern stadiums with artificial turf surfaces began to change the game in the 1970s and 1980s. Home runs dominated the game during the 1990s. In the mid-2000s, media reports disclosed the use of anabolic steroids among MLB players. A 2006-07 investigation produced the Mitchell Report, which found that many players had used steroids and other performance-enhancing substances, including at least one player from each team. MLB is the third wealthiest professional sports league in the world by revenue after the National Football League (NFL) and the National Basketball Association (NBA). 25, 26, 27. Baseball games are broadcast on television, radio, and the internet throughout North America and in several other countries. MLB has the highest total season attendance of any sports league in the world. In 2023, it drew more than 70.75 million spectators. 28. MLB also oversees minor league baseball, which comprises lower-tier teams affiliated with the major league clubs, and the MLB Draft League, a hybrid amateur professional showcase league. MLB and the World Baseball Softball Confederation jointly manage the International World Baseball Classic Tournament. The New York Yankees have the most championships with 27. The reigning champions are the Los Angeles Dodgers, who defeated the Yankees in the 2024 World Series. Individual sports. Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course has hosted several auto racing championships, including Kart World Series, IndyCar Series, NASCAR Nationwide Series, Can-Am, Formula 5000, IMSA GT Championship, American Le Mans Series, and Rolex Sports Car Series. The Grand Prix of Cleveland also hosted kart races from 1982 to 2007. The Eldora Speedway is a major dirt oval that hosts NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, World of Outlaws Sprint Cars, and USAC Silver Crown Series races. Ohio hosts two PGA Tour events, the WGC Bridgestone Invitational and Memorial Tournament. The Cincinnati Open is an ATP World Tour Masters 1000 and WTA 1000 tennis tournament. College sports. Main article. List of college athletic programs in Ohio Stadium in Columbus, home to the Ohio State Buckeyes football team, is the fifth largest stadium in the world. Ohio has 8 NCAA Division I Football Bowl subdivision college football teams, divided among 3 different conferences. It has also experienced considerable success in the secondary and tertiary tiers of college football divisions. There are 2 programs in the Power 5 conferences, the Ohio State Buckeyes of the Big Ten Conference and the Cincinnati Bearcats of the Big 12 Conference. The Ohio State Buckeyes football team is second in all-time winning percentage, with a 9.7733.553 overall record and a 30-29 bowl record as of 2024. The program has produced 7 Heisman Trophy winners, 41 conference titles, and 9 undisputed national championships. The men's basketball program has appeared in the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Tournament. The Cincinnati Bearcats men's basketball team has over 1,800 wins and 33 March Madness appearances, whilst the Bearcats football team became the first so-called Group of 5 team to qualify to the College Football Playoff in 2022. 221 in the Group of 5 conferences. 6 teams are represented in the Mid-American Conference: the Akron Zips, Bowling Green Falcons, Kent State Golden Flashes, Miami Redhawks, Ohio Bobcats, and the Toledo Rockets. The MAC headquarters are in Cleveland. The Cincinnati-Miami rivalry game has been played in Southwest Ohio every year since 1888 and is the oldest current non-conference NCAA football rivalry. Other Division I schools, either part of the NCAA Division I Football Championship subdivision or not fielding in football, include the Cleveland State Vikings, Xavier Musketeers, Wright State Raiders, and Youngstown State Penguins. Xavier's men's basketball has performed particularly well, with the 27th of March Madness appearances. Youngstown State's football has the third most NCAA Division I football championship wins, with 3. There are 12 NCAA Division II universities and 22 NCAA Division III universities in Ohio. Government and Politics. State government. Mine article. Government of Ohio. Ohio State House in Columbus, home to the Ohio General Assembly. State government of Ohio consists of the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. 222, 223, 224. The executive branch is headed by the Governor of Ohio, 222. The current governor is Mike DeWine since 2019, a member of the Republican Party, 225. A lieutenant governor succeeds the governor in the event of any removal from office and performs any duties assigned by the governor, 226, 227. The current lieutenant governor is Jim Tressel. The other elected constitutional offices in the executive branch are the Secretary of State, Frank LaRossi, Auditor Keith Faber, Treasurer Robert Sprague, and Attorney General Dave Yost, 222. There are 21 state administrative departments in the executive branch. 228, 229. The Ohio General Assembly is a bicameral legislature consisting of the Senate and House of Representatives. 230. The Senate is composed of 33 districts, each of which is represented by one senator. Each senator represents approximately 330,000 constituents. 231. The House of Representatives has 99 members. 232. In order to be enacted into law, a bill must be adopted by both houses of the General Assembly and signed by the governor. If the governor vetoes a bill, the General Assembly can override the veto with a 3/5 supermajority of both houses. A bill will also become a law if the governor fails to sign or veto it within 10 days of its being presented. The session laws are published in the Official Law of Ohio, 233. These in turn have been codified in the Ohio Revised Code, 234. The General Assembly, with the approval of the governor, draws the U.S. congressional district lines for Ohio's 16 seats in the United States House of Representatives. The Ohio Apportionment Board draws state legislative district lines in Ohio. The Thomas J. Moyer Ohio Judicial Center holds the Supreme Court of Ohio. There are 3 levels of the Ohio State Judiciary. The lowest is the Court of Common Pleas. Each county maintains its own constitutionally mandated Court of Common Pleas, which maintain jurisdiction over all justiciable matters. 235. The intermediate level court system is the district court system. 236. 12 courts of appeals exist, each retaining jurisdiction over appeals from common pleas, municipal, and county courts in a set geographical area. 235. A case heard in this system is decided by a 3-judge panel, and each judge is elected. 235. The state's highest-ranking court is the Ohio Supreme Court. 237. A 7-justice panel composes the court, which, by its own discretion, hears appeals from the courts of appeals and retains original jurisdiction over limited matters. 238. Local government. See also, List of counties in Ohio, List of municipalities in Ohio, and List of townships in Ohio. There are also several levels of local government in Ohio: counties, municipalities, cities and villages, townships, special districts, and school districts. Ohio is divided into 88 counties. 239. Ohio law defines a structure for county government, although they may adopt charters for home rule. 240, 241, Summit County, 240, and Cuyahoga County, 242, have chosen an alternate form of government. The other counties have a government with a 3-member board of county commissioners, 243, a sheriff, 244 coroner, 245 auditor, 246 treasurer, clerk of the Court of Common Pleas, 248 prosecutor, 249 engineer, 250 and recorder. 251. There are 2 kinds of incorporated municipalities: 251 cities and 681 villages. 240, 252. If a municipality has 5,000 or more residents, as of the last United States Census, it is a city. Otherwise, it is a village. 240, 250 for municipalities have full home rule powers. They adopt a charter, ordinances, and resolutions for self-government. 2. Each municipality chooses its own form of government, but most have elected mayors and city councils or city commissions. The entire area of the state is encompassed by townships, 240. When the boundaries of a township are coterminous with the boundaries of a city or village, the township ceases to exist as a separate government called a paper township. 240. Townships are governed by a 3-member board of township trustees. 240. Townships may have limited home rule powers. 256. There are more than 600 city, local, and exempted village school districts providing K-12 education in Ohio, as well as about 4 dozen joint vocation school districts, which are separate from the K-12 districts. Politics Mine article, Politics of Ohio historian R. Douglas Hurd asserts that not since Virginia had a state made such a mark on national political affairs as Ohio. 258. The Economist notes that this slice of the Midwest contains a bit of everything American, part northeastern and part southern, part urban and part rural, part hardscrabble poverty and part booming suburb. 259. Ohio is considered a moderately Republican-leaning state politically. 91. 260. 261. It had been a swing state in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. This status was called into question after the state voted for Republican Donald Trump at larger margins than the nation as a whole in the 2016, 2020, and 2020 presidential elections. 260 to 263, it is also considered a bellwether state. 264-265 since 1896. Ohio has had only 3 misses in the general election 1944, 1960, 2020, and had the longest perfect streak of any state, voting for the winning presidential candidate in each election from 1960 to 2016, and in 30 of the 39 held since the American Civil War. No Republican has ever won the presidency without winning Ohio. As of 2024, there are more than 8 million registered Ohioan voters, of which over 70% are not affiliated with any political party. They are disproportionate in age, with 1 million more over 65 than there are 18 to 24-year-olds. 266 since the 2010 midterm elections. Ohio's voter demographic has leaned towards the Republican Party. 267. The governor, Mike DeWine, is Republican, as are all other non-judicial statewide elected officials. In the Ohio State Senate, the Republicans are the majority, 25-8. And in the Ohio House of Representatives, the Republicans control the delegation 60-235. Following the 2020 census, Ohio has 15 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, 268. As of the 2024 election cycle, 10 federal representatives are Republicans while 5 are Democrats. Marcy Kaptur D09 is the most senior member of the Ohio delegation to the U.S. House of Representatives, 269. The senior U.S. Senator is Bernie Moreno and the junior is John Husted. Both are Republicans. In 2023, Ohioans approved a constitutional amendment strengthening abortion rights. 270. Education Mine article. Education in Ohio. See also, list of colleges and universities in Ohio. Ohio State University in Columbus is Ohio's largest university by enrollment. 276. Oberlin College in Northeast Ohio was the first college in the U.S. to admit women. 277. Ohio's system of public education is outlined in Article 6 of the state constitution and in Title 33 of the Ohio Revised Code. Substantively, Ohio's system is similar to those found in other states. At the state level, the Ohio Department of Education governs primary and secondary educational institutions. At the municipal level, there are approximately 700 school districts statewide. The Ohio Board of Regents coordinates and assists with Ohio's institutions of higher education. Ohio is home to several public and private institutions of higher learning. Prior to statehood, the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 included a provision to establish an institution of higher education in the region, resulting in the establishment of Ohio University in 1804 as Ohio's first college. 278, 279, 280. The University System of Ohio includes all of Ohio's public institutions of higher education. It includes 14 four-year research universities, 20 for branch and regional campuses, and 23 community colleges and technical colleges. Ohio State University is the largest of the system, with over 60,000 students at its main campus in Columbus. 276 Kenyon College is the state's oldest private liberal arts college, established in 1824 by an Episcopal bishop to train clergy on the Ohio frontier. Oberlin College, established in 1833, was among the earliest colleges in the U.S. to admit African Americans in 1835 and became the first to admit women in 1837. 277 The Carnegie Foundation classifies 7 of the state's institutions as Tier 1 research universities: Case Western Reserve University, University of Cincinnati, University of Dayton, Kent State University, Ohio State University, Ohio University, and University of Toledo. 281 Libraries. Ohio is home to some of the nation's highest-ranked public libraries. 280 major metropolitan public library systems include the Cleveland Public Library, the Cuyahoga County Public Library, the Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library, and the Columbus Metropolitan Library. The Ohio Public Library Information Network provides Ohio residents with internet access to their 251 public libraries. It also provides Ohioans with free home access to high-quality subscription research databases. The Ohio Link Library Consortium provides Ohio's college and university libraries with mutual access to their collections. The program allows researchers access to books and other media that might not be otherwise available. CLEVNET, another major library consortium, is based at the Cleveland Public Library and includes 47 public library systems in Northeast Ohio. 283. Transportation Ohio welcome sign in 2019 road. See also list of interstate highways in Ohio, list of U.S. routes in Ohio, and list of state routes in Ohio. Many major east-west transportation corridors go through Ohio. One of those pioneer routes, known in the early 20th century as Main Market Route 3, was chosen in 1913 to become part of the historic Lincoln Highway, which was the first road across America, connecting New York City to San Francisco. In Ohio, the Lincoln Highway linked many towns and cities together, including Canton, Mansfield, Worcester, Lima, and Van Wert. The Lincoln Highway's arrival in Ohio was a major influence on the state's development. Upon the advent of the federal numbered highway system in 1926, the Lincoln Highway through Ohio became U.S. Route 30. Ohio is home to 228 miles 367 kilometers of the national road, now U.S. Route 40. Ohio has a highly developed network of roads and interstate highways. Major east-west through routes include the Ohio Turnpike I-80, I-90 in the north, I-76 through Akron to Pennsylvania, I-70 through Columbus and Dayton, and the Appalachian Highway State Route 32 running from West Virginia to Cincinnati. Major north-south routes include I-75 in the west through Toledo, Dayton, and Cincinnati, I-71 through the middle of the state, from Cleveland through Columbus and Cincinnati into Kentucky, and I-77 in the eastern part of the state, from Cleveland through Akron, Canton, New Philadelphia, and Marietta south into West Virginia. Interstate 75 between Cincinnati and Dayton is one of Ohio's most heavily traveled sections of interstate. The Lincoln Highway is one of the first transcontinental highways in the United States and one of the first highways designed expressly for automobiles. One conceived in 1912 by Indiana entrepreneur Carl G. Fisher and formally dedicated October 31st, 1913. The Lincoln Highway runs coast to coast from Times Square in New York City west to Lincoln Park in San Francisco. The full route originally ran through 13 states: New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Nebraska, Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, and California. In 1915, the Colorado Loop was removed, and in 1928, a realignment routed the Lincoln Highway through the northern tip of West Virginia. Thus, there are 14 states, 128 counties, and more than 700 cities, towns, and villages through which the highway passed at some time in its history. The first officially recorded length of the entire Lincoln Highway in 1913 was 3,389 miles, 5,454 kilometers a. Over the years, the road was improved and numerous realignments were made, and by 1924 the highway had been shortened to 3,142 miles, 5,057 kilometers. Counting the original route and all of the subsequent realignments, there has been a grand total of 5,872 miles, 9,450 kilometers. 5. The Lincoln Highway was gradually replaced with numbered designations after the establishment of the U.S. numbered highway system in 1926, with most of the route becoming U.S. Route 30 from Pennsylvania to Wyoming. After the interstate highway system was formed in the 1950s, the former alignments of the Lincoln Highway were largely superseded by Interstate 80 as the primary coast-to-coast route from the New York City area to San Francisco. U.S. Route 30 U.S. 30 is a United States numbered highway that runs from Astoria, Oregon, to Atlantic City, New Jersey. In the state of Ohio, it is a major 245.69-mile-long, 395.40 kilometers east-west highway that runs through the northern section of the state. Overall, the highway runs through rural areas dominated by farm fields or woodlands. Some segments are urban in character in the Mansfield and Canton areas. The first transportation route along US 30 in the state was the Lincoln Highway. In the early 1920s, the corridor was to different state routes in the initial state route system. When the U.S. numbered highway system was first designated on November 11, 1926, the new US 30 replaced the other designations along its route. Since creation, the road has been moved and realigned several times. Starting in the early 1950s, various sections were upgraded to freeways, bypassing several cities and villages in the area. Future improvements to the route of US 30 includes a proposed easterly extension of the four-lane divided highway from Canton to State Route 11 SR11, near Lisbon. US 40 enters Ohio just to the south of New Paris. The road is always close to the newer I-70 eastward toward Dayton. In Vandalia, the road passes to the south of Dayton International Airport and crosses the Dixie Highway and I-75 and the Great Miami River. The road never actually enters Dayton, instead skirting the northern suburbs on the way towards Springfield. 921 The portion of US 40 between Medway-Carlisle Road, Ohio State Route 571, County Road 303, and Lambs Lane in Bethel Township, Clark County, is designated Staff Sergeant Wesley Williams Memorial Highway 22 in honor of a 2005 Tecumseh High School graduate who died on December 10, 2012, while serving in the U.S. Army from injuries suffered when enemy forces attacked his unit with an improvised explosive device in Kandahar Province, Afghanistan. 2324. In Springfield, US 40 is split between two one-way streets. North Street carries US 40 west and Columbia Street carries US 40 east. The route then shifts onto East Main Street before leaving town to the east, once again as National Road. From Tuttle Road just east of Springfield to State Route 50 in South Vienna, US 40 has been designated as the Deputy Matthew Yates Memorial Highway. US 40 passes just north of London, where it intersects Ohio State Route 56 and US 42 before heading into West Jefferson. In West Jefferson, US 40 is routed on Main Street. 921. In the Columbus metropolitan area, US 40 enters from the west as Broad Street. Among the sites along US 40 in Columbus are the Ohio State House, the Columbus Museum of Art, and Levique Tower, the oldest skyscraper in Columbus. In Bexley, the route follows Main Street, using Drexel Avenue to get between Broad and Main. US 40 continues as Main Street through Reynoldsburg before leaving the Columbus area as National Road yet again. 921 east of the Columbus metro area. US 40 parallels I-70 at a distance of about 1 mile to kilometers, passing through several small towns, including Kirkersville and Hebron. In Zanesville, the road becomes Main Street, and at the center of town US 40 begins a concurrency with US 22 that carries it to Cambridge. US 40 crosses the Muskingum River in Zanesville on the famous Y Bridge. Routes 22 and 40 enter Cambridge from the southwest along John Glenn Highway and split in town. US 40 follows Wheeling Avenue. In Old Washington, US 40 joins I-70 at exit 186. It leaves I-70 at exit 201 near Morristown. The two roads cross paths several times before they both leave Ohio on a pair of bridges across the Ohio River at Bridgeport. 921. The now decommissioned Ohio State Route for 140 ran along old US 40 in places where US 40 had been shifted onto I-70. Trails Ohio has a highly developed network of signed state bicycle routes. Many of them follow rail trails, with conversion ongoing. The Ohio to Erie Trail Route 1 connects Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland. U.S. Bicycle Route 50 traverses Ohio from Steubenville to the Indiana state line outside Richmond. 280 for Ohio has several long-distance hiking trails, the most prominent of which is the Buckeye Trail, which extends 1,440 miles to 1,324 kilometers in a loop around the state. Part of it is on roads and part on wooded trail. Additionally, the North Country Trail, the longest of the 11 national scenic trails authorized by Congress, and the American Discovery Trail, a system of recreational trails and roads that collectively form a coast-to-coast route across the mid-tier of the United States, pass through Ohio. Much of these two trails coincide with the Buckeye Trail. A rail trail is a shared use path on a railway right-of-way. Rail trails are typically constructed after a railway has been abandoned and the track has been removed, but may also share the right-of-way with active railways, light rail, or streetcars rails with trails, or with disused track. As shared use paths, rail trails are primarily for non-motorized traffic including pedestrians, bicycles, horseback riders, skaters, and cross-country skiers, although snowmobiles and ATVs may be allowed. The characteristics of abandoned railways' gentle grades, well-engineered rights-of-way and structures, bridges and tunnels, and passage through historical areas lend themselves to rail trails and account for their popularity. Many rail trails are long-distance trails, while some shorter rail trails are known as greenways or linear parks. The Ohio to Erie Trail is a dedicated multi-use trail crossing Ohio from southwest to northeast, crossing 326 miles, 525 kilometers of regional parks, nature preserves, and rural woodland. The trail, named after its endpoints, extends from the Ohio River at Cincinnati to the Lake Erie at Cleveland, primarily integrating former rail trails and multi-use trails into a dedicated trail. Roughly 85% complete as of early 2023, construction began in 1991, with sections completed as recently as 2022. Remaining on-road segments, designated as routes, substitute for the as yet undeveloped final sections of fully segregated, dedicated path. The trail serves a variety of user types. Non-motorized movement includes bicyclists, pedestrians, hikers, and on certain sections, equestrians with or without buggies, too. In addition, certain motorized e-bikes are allowed to use the trail. 3. The surface itself varies, including asphalt, cement, concrete, crushed limestone, and hard-packed earth. U.S. Bicycle Route 50 (USBR 50) is a planned east-west cross-country U.S. bicycle route that currently consists of two discontiguous sections, a western section between San Francisco and Boulder, Utah, and an eastern section between Terre Haute, Indiana, and Washington, D.C. The American Discovery Trail is a system of recreational trails and roads that collectively form a coast-to-coast hiking and biking trail across the mid-tier of the United States. Horses can also be ridden on most of this trail. 1. The coastal trailheads are the Delmarva Peninsula on the Atlantic Ocean and the Northern California coast on the Pacific Ocean. The trail has northern and southern alternates for part of its distance, passing through Chicago and St. Louis respectively. The total length of the trail, including both the north and south routes, is 6,800 miles, 10,900 kilometers. The northern route covers 4,830 miles, 7,780 kilometers, with the southern route covering 5,057 miles, 8,138 kilometers. It is the only non-motorized coast-to-coast trail. The trail passes through 14 national parks and 16 national forests, and uses sections of or connects to 5 national scenic trails, 10 national historic trails, and 23 national recreation trails. For part of its distance, it is coincident with the North Country Trail, the Buckeye Trail, the Continental Divide Trail, and the Colorado Trail. See also, List of Ohio railroads and List of Ohio train stations. Ohio has an extensive rail network, though today most lines carry only freight traffic. 3 Class 1 freight railroads operate in Ohio: CSX Transportation, Norfolk Southern Railway, and Canadian National Railway. Many local freight carriers also exist in the state. Amtrak, the national passenger railroad, operates 3 long-distance rail routes through Ohio. The Lakeshore Limited serves Cleveland, Elyria, Toledo, Sandusky, and Bryan. The Capital Limited stops in those cities as well as in Alliance. The Cardinal serves Cincinnati Union Terminal. From Ohio, passengers can ride directly to Chicago, New York, Boston, Washington, D.C., Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, and dozens of destinations in between. Columbus is the largest city in the U.S. with no passenger rail. Its Union Station was last served in 1979 by the National Limited. Ohio is home to several scenic railways and museums, including the Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad through Cuyahoga Valley National Park, the Age of Steam Roundhouse Museum, and the Hocking Valley Scenic Railway near Hocking Hills State Park. CSX Transportation reporting mark CSXT, known colloquially as simply CSX, is a Class I freight railroad company operating in the eastern United States and the Canadian provinces of Ontario and Quebec, operating about 21,000 route miles, 34,000 kilometers of track. It is the leading subsidiary of CSX Corporation, a Fortune 500 company headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida. 3 CSX Corporation was formed in 1980 from the merger of Chessie System and Seaboard Coast Line Industries to holding companies that controlled railroads operating in the eastern United States. Initially only a holding company, the subsidiaries that made up CSX Corporation completed merging in 1987. CSX Transportation formally came into existence in 1986 as the successor of Seaboard System Railroad. In 1999, CSX Transportation acquired about half of Conrail in a joint purchase with competitor Norfolk Southern Railway. In 2022, it acquired Pan Am Railways, extending its reach into northern New England. Norfolk Southern remains CSX's chief competitor. The two share a duopoly on transcontinental freight rail lines in the east half of the U.S. The Canadian National Railway Company, a French company de chemins de fer national du Canada, reporting mark CN, is a Canadian Class 1 freight railway headquartered in Montreal, Quebec, which serves Canada and the Midwestern and Southern United States. 5CN is Canada's largest railway, in terms of both revenue and the physical size of its rail network. 6 spanning Canada from the Atlantic coast in Nova Scotia to the Pacific coast in British Columbia, across approximately 20,000 route miles, 32,000 kilometers of track. 7. In the late 20th century, CN gained extensive capacity in the United States by taking over such railroads as the Illinois Central. 6CN is a public company with 24,671 employees to end, as of July 2024, a market cap of approximately 75 billion United States dollars. HCN was government-owned. As a Canadian Crown corporation, from its founding in 1919 until being privatized as of 2019, Bill Gates was the largest single shareholder of CN stock, owning a 14.2% interest through Cascade Investment and his own Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. 9 from 1919 to 1978, the railway was known as Canadian National Railways CNR, the National Railroad Passenger Corporation, doing business as Amtrak, Amtrak, reporting marks AMTK, AMTZ, is the National Passenger Railroad Company of the United States. It operates intercity rail service in 46 of the 48 contiguous U.S. states and 3 Canadian provinces. Amtrak is a portmanteau of the words America and track. Founded in 1971 as a quasi-public corporation to operate many U.S. passenger rail routes, Amtrak receives a combination of state and federal subsidies, but is managed as a for-profit organization. It directly owns approximately 623 miles, 1,003 kilometers of this track and operates an additional 132 miles of track. The remaining mileage is over rail lines owned by other railroad companies. While most track speeds are limited to 79 miles per hour, 127 kilometers per hour, or less, several lines have been upgraded to support top speeds of 110 miles per hour, 180 kilometers per hour, and parts of the Northeast Corridor support top speeds of 160 miles per hour, 260 kilometers per hour. In fiscal year 2022, Amtrak served 20.9 million passengers and had $2.1 billion in revenue, with more than 17,100 employees as of fiscal year 2021. Nearly 87,000 passengers ride more than 300 Amtrak trains daily. Nearly two-thirds of passengers come from the 10 largest metropolitan areas, and 83% of passengers travel on routes shorter than 400 meters. Aisles 645 kilometers. 7. The Indianapolis Union Station is an intercity train station in the wholesale district of Indianapolis, Indiana. Currently, Amtrak's Cardinal Line serves the terminal, passing through Indianapolis 3 times a week each way. Initially, Indianapolis created the world's first Union Station in 1848. Subsequently, the station building opened on September 20, 1853, at 39 Jackson Place, operated by the Indianapolis Union Railway. Later, a larger Richardsonian Romanesque station designed by Pittsburgh architect Thomas Rodd was built at the same location starting in November 1886 and opened in September 1888. The headhouse, main waiting area and office and clock tower of this second station still stand today. 3. Today, Amtrak, the national rail passenger carrier, continues to serve Union Station from a waiting area beneath the train shed. The station is served by the Cardinal Chicago, New York City, via Cincinnati and Washington, D.C., and was the eastern terminus of the Hoosier State until its discontinuation on June 30, 2019. Transit Cincinnati Connector Streetcar Mass Transit exists in many forms in Ohio cities, primarily through bus systems. The Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority (GCRTA) operates the RTA Rapid Transit System, which consists of 1 heavy rail line, 3 light rail lines, and 3 bus rapid transit lines. Cincinnati is served by the Southwest Ohio Regional Transit Authority bus network, as well as a 3.6-mile, 5.8-kilometer streetcar line, the Cincinnati Bell Connector. Other major transit agencies in Ohio include the Central Ohio Transit Authority, COTA, serving Columbus, and the Greater Dayton Regional Transit Authority, GDRTA, serving Dayton. The Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority, officially the GCRTA, but historically and locally referred to as the RTA, is the public transit agency for Cleveland and the surrounding suburbs of Cuyahoga County in Ohio, United States. RTA is the largest transit agency in Ohio, with a ridership of 24,875,000, or about 81,100 per weekday. As of the fourth quarter, RTA owns and operates the RTA Rapid Transit Rail System, called the Rapid by area residents, which consists of one heavy rail line, the Red Line, and three light rail lines, Blue, Green, Waterfront. The bulk of RTA's service consists of buses, including regular routes, express or flyer buses, loop and paratransit buses. In December 2004, RTA adopted a revised master plan, Transit 2025, in which several rail extensions, bus line improvements, and transit-oriented developments are discussed. For RTA's major predecessor, the Cleveland Transit System was the first transit system in the Western Hemisphere to provide direct rapid transit service from a city's downtown to its major airport. 5. In 2007, RTA was named the best public transit system in North America by the American Public Transportation Association for demonstrating achievement in efficiency and effectiveness. 6. RTA Rapid Transit, generally known as the Rapid, is a rapid transit and light rail system owned and operated by the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority (GCRTA). The system serves Cleveland and surrounding areas in Cuyahoga County. The system currently consists of 4 total service lines, 1 rapid transit rail line, and 3 light rail lines. For rail lines join at Tower City Center in downtown Cleveland on the platform level of the former Cleveland Union Terminal. 3 rail lines share their tracks at Tri-C Campus District and East 55th stations. This sharing of one route by light and heavy rail trains is quite unusual. The shared stations have connected platforms of 2 heights to accommodate the 2 kinds of trains. And the 2 types of trains both use the same maintenance facility since they both use the same track gauge and same source of power. Bus Rapid Transit, BRT, also referred to as a busway or transitway, is a trolleybus, electric bus, and public transport bus service system designed to have much more capacity, reliability, and other quality features than a conventional bus system. 3. Typically, a BRT system includes roadways that are dedicated to buses and gives priority to buses at intersections where buses may interact with other traffic, alongside design features to reduce delays caused by passengers boarding or leaving buses or paying fares. BRT aims to combine the capacity and speed of a light rail transit LRT or mass rapid transit MRT system with the flexibility, lower cost, and simplicity of a bus system. The world's first BRT system was the Runcorn Busway in Runcorn, Newtown, England, which entered service in 1971. 5. As of March 2018, a total of 166 cities in 6 continents have implemented BRT systems, accounting for 4,906 kilometers, 3,048 miles of BRT Lane 6, and about 30.2 million passengers every day. The majority of these are in Latin America, where about 19.6 million passengers ride daily, and which has the most cities with BRT systems, with 54, led by Brazil, with 21 cities. 6. The Latin American countries with the most daily ridership are Brazil, 10.7 million, Colombia, 3.0 million, and Mexico, 2.5 million. In the other regions, China for 0.3 million and Iran to 0.1 million stand out. 6. Currently, Transjakarta is the largest BRT network in the world, with about 251.2 kilometers, 156.1 miles of corridors connecting the Indonesian capital city. 1. The Greater Dayton Regional Transit Authority, formerly known as the Miami Valley RTA, is a public transit agency that generally serves the Greater Dayton, Ohio area. The GDRTA serves communities within Montgomery County and parts of Greene County, Ohio, USA. There are 18 routes. RTA operates diesel and electric trolleybuses 7 days a week, 21 hours a day, and provides services to many citizens within the area. RTA's current CEO is Bob Ruzinski, 3. In 2024, the system had a ridership of 6,234,400, or about 25,400 per weekday as of the fourth quarter of 2024. Greater Dayton RTA is Ohio's fourth largest public transit system for serving Dayton and 23 surrounding communities in Montgomery County and parts of Greene County. Air travel see also list of airports in Ohio has for international airports, for commercial, and to military. The 4 international include Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, John Glenn Columbus International Airport, Dayton International Airport, and Rickenbacker International Airport, one of 2 military airfields. The other military airfield is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is one of the largest Air Force bases in the United States. Other major airports are in Toledo and Akron. Cincinnati's main airport, Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky International Airport, is in Hebron, Kentucky, and therefore is not included in Ohio airport lists. Cleveland Hopkins International Airport IATA, ICAO, KCLE, FAA LID, CLE, is a city-owned international airport in Cleveland, Ohio, United States, and is the primary airport serving Greater Cleveland and Northeast Ohio. It is the largest and busiest airport in the state, as well as in the top 50 largest airports in the U.S. by passenger numbers. 5. Located in Cleveland's Hopkins neighborhood 9 miles 14 kilometers southwest of downtown Cleveland, it is adjacent to the Glenn Research Center, one of NASA's 10 major field centers of 3. The airport has been at the forefront of several innovations that are now commonplace. It was the first airport with an air traffic control tower and a 2-level design separating arrivals from departures. It was also the first airport in North America to be directly connected with a rail transit line. Cleveland was a hub for United Airlines from the post-World War II era until the mid-1980s. After United moved out, Continental Airlines moved in, making it the dominant carrier at the airport in the 1990s and 2000s. After United and Continental merged in 2010, United closed the Cleveland hub, though it still has a flight attendant base, pilot base, and maintenance facilities at the airport and is its largest carrier by passenger count. When United stopped using Cleveland as a hub, it closed Concourse D, but the airline kept paying to lease the facility. However, United's hub closure created an opening for low-cost carriers to enter the market, which had previously had among the highest average fares in the country. Within a few years after United closed the hub, passenger traffic rebounded to where it was before the closure. Cleveland Hopkins offers nonstop passenger service to 43 destinations. Cleveland Hopkins is operated by the Cleveland Department of Port Control, which also operates Burklake for an airport located downtown. John Glenn Columbus International Airport IATA, CMH, ICAO, KCMH, FAA LID, CMH, is an international airport located 6 miles 9.7 kilometers east of downtown Columbus. Formerly known as Port Columbus International Airport, it is managed by the Columbus Regional Airport Authority, which also oversees operations at Rickenbacker International Airport and Bolton Field. The airport code CMH stands for Columbus Municipal Hangar, the original name of the airport. For John Glenn Columbus International Airport is primarily a passenger airport. It provides 148 nonstop flights to 31 airports via many passenger airlines daily. 5. On May 25, 2016, the Ohio General Assembly passed a bill to rename the airport from Port Columbus International Airport, or to its current name, in honor of astronaut and four-term U.S. Senator John Glenn. 6. The name change was unanimously approved by the airport's 9-member board on May 24, 2016. 7. Ohio Governor John Kasich signed the bill into law on June 14, 2016, with the name change becoming official 90. On June 28, 2016, a celebration of the renaming was held and new signage bearing the airport's new name was unveiled. 9. Dayton International Airport IATA, Day, ICAO, KDAY, FAA LID, Day, officially James M. Cox Dayton International Airport, formerly Dayton Municipal Airport, and James M. Cox Dayton Municipal Airport, is 10 miles north of downtown Dayton. In Montgomery County, Ohio, United States. 2. The airport is in an exclave of the city of Dayton, not contiguous with the rest of the city. 5. Its address is 3600 Terminal Drive, Dayton, Ohio 45377. The airport is headquarters for American Eagle carrier PSA Airlines. The National Plan of Integrated Airport Systems called it a primary commercial service airport in 6. Dayton International is the third busiest and third largest airport in Ohio, behind Cleveland Hopkins International Airport and John Glenn Columbus International Airport. 7. While Cincinnati's airport is also busier, it is located in the neighboring state of Kentucky. Interstate 70 exit sign Dayton International Airport handled 2,607,528 passengers in 2012 and had 57,914 combined takeoffs and landings in 2012-8. Dayton ranked No. 76 in U.S. airport boardings in 2008. 9. The airport has nonstop flights to 17 destinations. Rickenbacker International Airport IATA, LCK, ICAO, KLCK, FAA LID. LCK is a civil military public airport 10 miles 16 kilometers south of downtown Columbus, near Lockburn in southern Franklin County, Ohio. The south end of the airport extends into Pickaway County. The base was named for flying ace and Columbus native Eddie Rickenbacker. It is managed by the Columbus Regional Airport Authority, which also operates John Glenn Columbus International Airport and Bolton Field. 1. Rickenbacker International is primarily a cargo airport for the city of Columbus, although since 2012, it has served an increasing number of passenger flights as well as charter carriers. To the United States Air Force maintains a presence in the form of the Ohio Air National Guard's 121st Air Refueling Wing. Rickenbacker International is also home of the Ohio Army National Guard's Army Aviation Support Facility, No. 2, and the headquarters for the Ohio Military Reserve, one of the state defense forces of Ohio. In 1999 and 2007, the airport held gatherings of Mustangs and Legends. Dozens of Mustang airplanes attended each time. 3. The airport also hosted the Columbus Air Show in 2023. For Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky International Airport IATA, CVG, ICAO, KCVG, FAA LID. CVG is a public international airport located in Boone County, Kentucky, United States, around the community of Hebron. The airport serves the Cincinnati tri-state area. The airport's code, CVG, is derived from the nearest city at the time of the airport's opening, Covington, Kentucky. The airport covers an area of 7,000 acres, 10.9 square miles, 28.3 square kilometers. 3-4. It is included in the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, National Plan of Integrated Airport Systems for 2023 to 2027, in which it is categorized as a medium hub primary commercial service facility. 5. Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky International Airport offers nonstop passenger service to over 50 destinations in North America and Europe. 6. Handling numerous domestic and international cargo flights every day. 7. The airport is a cargo global hub for Amazon Air, Atlas Air, ABX Air, Kalitta Air, and DHL Aviation. The airport is currently the 6th busiest airport in the United States by cargo traffic and 12th largest in the world. CVG is the fastest growing cargo airport in North America. 8-9 Hebron. Hebron is an unincorporated community and census-designated place CDP in Boone County, Kentucky, United States. 2. It is named after the biblical city of Hebron. As of the 2020 census, it had a population of 6,195. The wider Hebron area is home to the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky International Airport, which serves Cincinnati and the tri-state, Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana area. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, WPAFBIATA, FFO, ICAO, KFFO, FAA LID. FFO is a United States Air Force base and census-designated place just east of Dayton, Ohio, in Greene and Montgomery counties. It includes both Wright and Patterson fields, which were originally Wilbur Wright Field and Fairfield Aviation General Supply Depot. Patterson Field is approximately 16 kilometers, 10 miles northeast of Dayton. Wright Field is approximately 8.0 kilometers, 5 miles northeast of Dayton. The host unit at Wright-Patterson AFB is the 88th Air Base Wing 88 ABW, assigned to the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center and Air Force Materiel Command. The 88 ABW operates the airfield, maintains all infrastructure, and provides security, communications, medical, legal, personnel, contracting, finance, transportation, air traffic control, weather forecasting, public affairs, recreation, and chaplain services for more than 60 associate units. The Air Force's National Air Intelligence Center (NAIC) and the Space Force's National Space Intelligence Center (NSIC) are also garrisoned there, and are the intelligence community's primary organizations for strategic air and space threat analysis. The base's origin begins with the establishment of Wilbur Wright Field on the 22nd of May 1917 and McCook Field in November 1917, both established by the Aviation Section, U.S. Signal Corps as World War I installations. McCook was used as a testing field and for aviation experiments. Wright was used as a flying field, renamed Patterson Field in 1931, Fairfield Aviation General Supply Depot, Armorer's School, and a temporary storage depot. McCook's functions were transferred to Wright Field when it was closed in October 1927. 2. Wright-Patterson AFB was established in 1948 as a merger of Patterson and Wright Fields. In 1995, negotiations to end the Bosnian War were held at the base, resulting in the Dayton Agreement ending the war. The base had a total of 27,406 military, civilian, and contract employees in 2010. 3. The Greene County portion of the base is a census-designated place CDP, with a resident population of 1,821 at the 2010 census. Waterways Mine articles, Lake Erie, List of Rivers of Ohio, and Historic Ohio Canals. Lake Erie, E-Erie, is the fourth largest lake by surface area of the 5 Great Lakes in North America and th. 11th largest globally. 610, it is the southernmost, shallowest, and smallest by volume of the Great Lakes 1112 and also has the shortest average water residence time. At its deepest point, Lake Erie is 210 feet 64 meters deep, making it the only Great Lake whose deepest point is above sea level. 13 located on the international boundary between Canada and the United States, Lake Erie's northern shore is the Canadian province of Ontario, specifically the Ontario Peninsula, with the U.S. states of Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York on its western, southern, and eastern shores. These jurisdictions divide the surface area of the lake with water boundaries. The largest city on the lake is Cleveland, anchoring the third largest U.S. metro area in the Great Lakes region, after Greater Chicago and Metro Detroit. Other major cities along the lake shore include Buffalo, New York, Erie, Pennsylvania, and Toledo, Ohio. Situated below Lake Huron, Erie's primary inlet is the Detroit River. The main natural outflow from the lake is via the Niagara River, which provides hydroelectric power to Canada and the U.S. as it spins huge turbines near Niagara Falls at Lewiston, New York, and Queenston, Ontario. 14. Some outflow occurs via the Welland Canal, part of the St. Lawrence Seaway, which diverts water for ship passages from Port Colborne, Ontario, on Lake Erie to St. Catharines on Lake Ontario, an elevation difference of 326 feet 99 meters. Lake Erie's environmental health has been an ongoing concern for decades, with issues such as overfishing, pollution, algae blooms, and eutrophication generating headlines. 1516 Ohio is a Midwestern state in the Great Lakes region of the United States. The state takes its name from the Ohio River, whose name in turn originated from the Seneca word Ohio, meaning good river, great river, or large creek. 1. The Ohio River forms its southern border, though nearly all of the river itself belongs to Kentucky and West Virginia. Significant rivers within the state include the Cuyahoga River, Great Miami River, Maumee River, Muskingum River, and Scioto River. The rivers in the northern part of the state drain into the northern Atlantic Ocean via Lake Erie and the St. Lawrence River, and the rivers in the southern part of the state drain into the Gulf of Mexico via the Ohio River, and then the Mississippi. The worst weather disaster in Ohio history occurred along the Great Miami River in 1913. Known as the Great Dayton Flood, the entire Miami River watershed flooded, including the downtown business district of Dayton. As a result, the Miami Conservancy District was created as the first major floodplain engineering project in Ohio and the United States. Hocking Canal, in southeastern Ohio, was a small 19th century lateral feeder canal of the Ohio Erie Canal. It began in Carroll, Ohio, which was on the Ohio Erie Canal, and ran to Athens, Ohio. It paralleled the Hocking River in most places, but also used the river where it was calm and navigable. The portions where the canal route ran in the Hocking River itself were called slackwater sections. In 1829, Southern Ohio private investors interested in transporting salt and other products to the marketplace faster decided to construct a branch canal from the Ohio and Erie Canal at Carroll, Ohio southward towards Lancaster. Excavation on the Lancaster lateral began in 1831. This portion of the canal was completed September 4, 1838. In the same year, the Lancaster lateral was purchased by the state. Ohio subsequently contracted to extend the canal from Lancaster to Logan, Nelsonville, Chauncey, and Athens, 53 miles from Carroll. The 56-mile canal was completed in 1843, although much of it was officially opened 2 years earlier. Salt, coal, pork products, wool, and lumber were shipped out, and furniture and iron products were brought into Lancaster, Athens, and Hocking counties via the canal. It had 26 locks, 7 culverts, and an aqueduct crossing Monday Creek south of Nelsonville. Operation of the canal never proved profitable, least of all the 15-mile stretch between Nelsonville and Athens, where a number of salt works were located. Their owners, frustrated by the slow pace of the canal boats for miles per hour and the unavailability of the canal in the winter when it often froze, began construction of the Columbus and Hocking Valley Railroad, which by 1857 competed with the canal for cargo. During the American Civil War's famed Morgan's Raid, Confederate cavalry under Brig. Gen. John Hunt Morgan paused in Nelsonville and burned 10 wooden canal boats. However, they failed to destroy a covered bridge over the Hocking Canal when citizens rushed to extinguish the blaze after the raiders rode off. This allowed Union cavalry to continue their pursuit of the fleeing Confederates. Repeated flooding, especially in the late 19th century, severely damaged portions of the canal, and the railroad became the favored mode of transportation. In 1890, the canal was closed. Today, remnants of the canal basin are visible in places from a modern bikeway built on the old towpath. The former Lock Number 19 is preserved as a roadside park on the old U.S. Route 33 in eastern Star Township, west of Nelsonville in Hocking County. Other remnants include dams, aqueducts, and other locks. However, the last remnants of the Hocking Canal in the city of Athens were bulldozed in 1983 to make way for a housing development. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.